Ah, yes. It's time for the news and updates here on the Big Rab Show podcast. And, yeah, you might have guessed it. St. Patrick's Day will take the headline news, I suppose, from this past week. We brought you a pod last week on St. Patrick's Day Eve, and the following day, let's just say, it seemed to be every piper and drummer on the planet was out there playing at something. There was either a parade, a community event, a gig in a pub or a bar, a theatre, absolutely everywhere. It seemed to be that you took my words absolutely literal last week by getting the pipes out of the box and having a real good tune. And there's been, mainstream media have been getting involved as well with various different news stories across different news networks and stuff. And there's various different pipe bands on display saying, "Hey, look at all these pipers and drummers," and it's just... Oh, St. Patrick's Day this year, I don't know, but it seems to have been a real explosion of piping and drumming, both, across the globe, but even right here at home in Northern Ireland. Now, I did say, and I came under quite a bit of criticism for it, that, St. Patrick's Day is kind of, it's another day here, that there is the odd celebration, but nothing really to write home about. Well, isn't that stuff that Rob got wrong? Absolutely. And I am quite happy to be wrong on that front. So many bands here in Northern Ireland were out and about and celebrating St. Patrick's Day. Shout out to Kildogue pipe bands. Column Kill were in action as well, with huge crowds up there in Londonderry. It was fantastic. But also we had the Major Sinclair Memorial entertaining crowds all around Belfast City, and way too many other pipe bands for me to mention, and that's even just the ones here close to home. All the ones across the world as well. In Australia, New Zealand, the United States, in Canada, South Africa, even in China. I think the Hong Kong pipe band were celebrating St. Patrick's too. It was absolutely brilliant to see so many bands and musicians out there enjoying the music and just having some good times. It was so heartwarming to look at all of the content online, all the photos that you've been putting up, all of the videos and stuff. It's just been very heartwarming to watch it all. And ourselves here on the Big Rab Show, we done what we could to try and keep up with all of it, even though there was loads of it. So if you do want to check out all the action from St. Patrick's Day, we've done what we can to share everything that was possible on our social media. So you can check it out on our Twitter and, of course, on our Facebook page as well. Of course, on St. Patrick's Day as well, I do have to mention that the Blackthorn Piping Society actually opened its doors the night before for St. Patrick's Day Eve. And, they had quite a rip-roaring event as well, all ahead of St. Patrick's Day, where a lot of pretty amazing pipers hit the floor. And we've also shared out their live streams as well. So if you do want to check out those performances, maybe you missed them, you can go and have a watch at them. They're definitely worth catching, for sure. Alrighty, well, St. Patrick's Day aside, I have to say, again, it kind of dominated the news feeds for most of last week. And we have to get past all of that. I do know that there's bands out there that will hopefully get a shout out and stuff, but seriously, there's way too many for me to mention on one podcast, so apologies everyone if you are expecting a shout out in this week's pod. But if it is something that I've annoyed you with but not giving your band a shout out, then please do. You can drop us in an email, bigrabshow@gmail.com. Yeah, see, and I'm now starting to think there's the McDonald Memorial and their Academy band as well. We had Waken District who are obviously out as well. Come on, there's way too many bands, and I'm going to start annoying people. Oh, you didn't shout out my band, what's wrong with you? So I'm just going to draw a line under it, okay? Because it was such a crazy celebration with so many bands involved around the globe that for me to sit here and read a hashtag list of absolutely everyone who was out playing would take me forever, and you folks don't want to listen to that. There'll be an hour and a half of me just reading names. So let's move on, shall we? So, the very next day, after St. Patrick's Day on the 18th, our own RSPBA here in headquarters dropped a bit of a news story that may well be of interest of quite a number of people. Yeah, this is competition format easements that have been put in place by our own headquarters to try and help bands get back into the performing and competing. And reading the notes and everything from this, from the music board themselves, they had two main bullet points as to what these easements hoped to achieve. They noted that some bands have yet to resume full practices due to the availability of suitable accommodation, and different policies that are being applied across local authority areas have made this difficult, and some bands are meeting in smaller groups without the ability to have a full band practice. Although there seems to be fragmented different pictures across the UK, so here in Northern Ireland I do know that there are some bands that are having full practices, be it outdoors in the lashing rain, but there's other bands as well that are doing this, small groups of 3 or 4 people, and they do hope to meet together in the near future. So yes, good to see that that's one bullet point that's being considered. The next is that bands have expressed concerns that a positive COVID test amongst its band members, and if they were in close proximity to someone, then how does that affect other members of the band? And all of that, and their ability to be able to compete at a championship. So say on the Friday night before your Saturday competition, the pipe major has to start phoning around and saying, "Hi, look, we've had a member test positive and they were at practice on Thursday. You might want to get yourself tested." And of course, if you do your own lateral flow or whatever, get yourself tested, and then suddenly, whammo, yep, you've got the COVIDs and you can't go to the band on Saturday and compete for the trophy. And yeah, the band will turn up at a competition on the Saturday and realise that half of the band probably have been infected or something. So I'm just talking about the what-ifs here. But at least it's the music board now being seen to have been given such a thing, giving this consideration, and now being able to reduce the numbers of required players to hit the grass in order to field a competitive band. As you guys know, there are certain numbers for competitions that you have to hit. Otherwise, your band will get disqualified and your performance won't be counted. Looking at Grade 4B, here in the UK, for a major championships, you have to have a minimum of 6 pipers, 2 snare drums, and 1 bass. There you are. And that's pretty much the same story all the way up now through Grade 2 as well. Now, that's definitely seen a reduction. Grade 3B, 3A, Grade 2 have all seen a reduction in these numbers to try and help bands in these grades. Also, in Grade 1, I think it remains the same. 8 pipers is the minimum, 3 snare drummers, and 1 bass drummer is the absolute minimum amount of people that you can field. And, I don't think that ever will change, I suppose. So the numbers are different from major competitions to minor, and I would urge you to go and check out all the details. Of course, are up there now on the RSPBA website. But honestly, seeing those 2 bullet points at the beginning and the factors that the music board are trying to mitigate, I suppose, it's quite a difficult one. But seeing this adjustment in the minimum numbers is definitely a big way to try and possibly help. I do know a lot of bands will struggle to meet those minimum requirements in certain grades. So, 6 pipers, 2 snares, 1 bass, and you're allowed to compete at a major championship. So, I have to say, I'm greatly encouraged by this adjustment made by the music board, and it shows that they're listening to their membership. The concerns and everything that are being raised by bands aren't falling on deaf ears, and they're doing something to help. So, with all of that in mind, we've seen changes in the playing requirements, for drawing online, or can you just choose a selection on the day, that kind of thing. Having to rock up in Grade 1 with 2 medleys, 2 MSRs. But now they're allowing you to select your set ahead of time. It's easing things, making things easier and more approachable as we try to rebuild, and I think it's fantastic. So again, I know sometimes I do draw criticism for criticising our RSPBA and saying they're not doing enough, but honestly, this is definitely evidence that they are doing what they can to try and help us back on the grass again. So well done, RSPBA. I have to say, go and check out the website, rspba.org. You can read the full details there about all your numbers, playing requirements, all that stuff's all up there now. And urge you, go and have a read at that. It's very, very interesting indeed. Alrighty. Moving on. This past weekend, of course, in sunny Australia, in Melbourne, there was the Victorian Pipe Band Championships. And can I just say, watching the footage and everything that we've managed to find, it looked as if it was the best possible time. So I have to give a shout out actually to the social media page Black Bear. We are absolutely fantastic, by the way. Yes, they managed to send us on the Big Rab Show a good lot of the footage that we've shared out, of course, on our social media. So yeah, I think pretty much every band was filmed by Black Bear and at this competition and was shared out on their social media. And we've done what we can to share out those performances on the Rab Show page as well for you guys to enjoy. So the competition itself had competition from Novice Juvenile B all the way up to Grade 2. And of course, Hawthorne Pipe Band were the Grade 2 band, and they left their first prize because they were the only Grade 2 band that were there. So, but yeah, go and check out the performance by Hawthorne, by the way. It's definitely worth catching. A very enjoyable performance, especially their medley. I love that medley performance. Anyway, moving on. I have to give a shout to Grade 3 champions then on the day, the City of Melbourne Pipe Bands. Yes, not bad at all. And also lifting the Grade 4, let me see, it's Hallaberry Pipes and Drums. Yeah, they're number 1 band. Well done. And also then lifting the Grade 4B title was Watsonia. See, this is stuff that Rab got wrong. Yeah, but apologies. Watsonia RSL Pipes and Drums. Fantastic stuff. Yeah, so for full details, of course, of all the results, we've posted those on the Rab Show page as well. But yeah, so many great performances there. And yeah, I do have my own particular favourites. Yeah, not going to lie. There's some real good ones. Hawthorne, absolutely. Go and have a listen to them. Never disappoint. What a fantastic run. Also, the City of Melbourne, of course, in Grade 3 there as well, lifting the title. Definitely worth a listen. So yeah, Hallaberry as well. Not just their number 1 band, but number 2 as well. Had quite a good run. So go and have a listen to Hallaberry Pipes and Drums too. A lot of great performances there. And as I said, you can go and watch them all now on the Big Rab Show social media, on our Facebook page. But you can also check out Black Bear as well, where they have all of the footage from that competition and others as well. So go and check that out as well. Shout out to Black Bear. Indeed. Now, I have to mention possibly one of the biggest news stories, of course, for this upcoming weekend. I'm sure you're sick of hearing me talk about it. Closkelt Pipe Band concert is this weekend. Oh my word, I cannot wait for it. I am so stupidly excited. It seems to be I've been talking about it now for weeks, and it's finally here. Closkelt in concert in the Marketplace Theatre in Armagh, and I was just off the phone there with the guys at Closkelt to find out how many tickets is left. And to be very precise, there is 58 tickets left at the point of me recording this. And of course, whenever you're listening to this right now, it could be completely sold out. So yeah, go and check out the box office at your own risk. The tickets may well be gone at this stage. Considering there's only 58 tickets left, I dare say these will leap off the shelves and there'll be none left by the time Thursday rolls around. So yes, also I've been asked to say by the band that there has been trouble and stuff with booking tickets online through the Marketplace Theatre box office website. Apparently there's some sort of, worldwide problem with taking payments online and stuff at the moment, so they're having difficulties with that. So their advice is to actually ring the Marketplace Theatre themselves, lift the phone, give them a ring and say, "Hi, I need to reserve a couple of tickets," and they'll sort you out over the phone if the online thing isn't working. So there you are, 58 tickets left for the Marketplace Theatre for Closkelt. Seriously, it's going to be ridiculously good. All right, I've heard more audio. I've heard little clips and stuff of the band preparing, and whoo, is it good? So yeah, I don't know. It's going to be so good. And not only at that, is the band going to be on stage, I'm going to be there as well on stage. And to find out what I'm doing, then you're going to need to get tickets. But yeah, it's just such a shame I'm actually part of the show. I kind of want to sit in the audience and watch all of this. It's going to be epic, man. It's going to be so good. Now, people have been asking about live streaming and stuff from the concert. Now, we don't normally live stream from concerts, unfortunately. We might upload the little clip here and there, but there's certainly nothing live or anything like that. As for any clips and videos and stuff like that, well, to be honest, you have to go to Patreon, because yes, we may well be producing some exclusive backstage stuff and little performance-y type stuff over there on Patreon. So if you do want to go and check all of that, video content from the Closkelt concert, then consider heading over there to Patreon, and yeah, you'll be treated to all sorts of backstagey stuff. looking forward to doing that for our Patreon faithful. That'll be fun. But yes, there should be some little video clips and stuff, I'm sure, online as the concert happens on Saturday, and we'll do our best to keep across those and share them out on our social media when we find them. But as for an official live stream or anything like that, the answer is no, that we won't be doing anything like that, unfortunately, for this show. So there you are. Hope that answers all your questions. Closkel 2022. I'm so stupidly excited for this weekend, man. I can't tell you. It's just going to be so good. It's because we have Closkel, we have Grantia as well, and the Matt Boyd Memorial, and some Highland dancers as well, and some drum majors display. It's just going to be a ridiculously good weekend. I cannot wait for it. Anyway, let's fly on. Well, on the 19th of March, of course, you might think, it's just another day. Well, I have to say, on the 20th of March, then, the following day, is Bill Livingstone's birthday. Woo! Yes. 20th of March, Bill Livingstone celebrated his 80th birthday. And from all of us here on the Big Rab Show, we want to say a very heartfelt happy birthday! Now, I don't need to tell you who Bill Livingstone is and why he's important in the piping scene. And honestly, he has earned the monocular legend, and he is an absolute legend, and yeah, I mean that in the best possible term, and yeah, the guy is an absolute legend, and thankfully we managed to chat to him once here on the Big Rab Show podcast many years ago. When he was here, it was part of the Live in Ireland concert in Belfast, and yeah, I have to say, I was really nervous talking to Bill, and the fact that I still managed to ask Bill what his favourite cheese was, I'll never forget his face. It kind of hit the floor, and he looked at me and said, "What sort of an idiot are you?" But he did answer the question. So, if you do want to check out that episode of the podcast, you can look back through our archives. And so the Live in Ireland interview with Bill Livingstone, honestly, was a milestone for me. And talking to the legend himself was just fantastic. And yeah, a very heartfelt happy birthday, 80 years young, to Bill Livingstone, the absolute legend. There you are. So, from that then, on to something that isn't really a news story, but I thought it would be interesting to talk about on the podcast this week. And that was, I received a bit of a gift in the mail from a friend of mine who had an old programme from a competition all the way back in 1983. This was held in Dixon Park in Ballyclare, and was absolutely fascinating. Looking back through this old programme, so many bands were mentioned on this programme with pipe majors and tartans and all the rest that are no longer with us. And again, it brings me back to my word of the week for this week being change. Reading through this old programme from all the way back in 83, so many familiar names, familiar bands, and all sadly no longer with us. And it's actually a favourite hobby of mine, looking back through old programmes from competitions from way back. I don't know about you folks out there, but whether you collect old programmes and stuff like that from piping events, but if you do, then please do snap a photograph of the pages and publish it out there on social media. You might think that nobody will be interested, but believe it or not, piping nerds like me absolutely love this stuff. You know, seeing old photographs of bands too from back in the day, you know, from back in the 80s, 90s, noughties, even earlier, I suppose, 40s, 50s, 30s, 20s, all the way back. I love looking at pipe band history, and yeah, I just wanted to put it out there in this week's news that I received a lovely gift in the mail of a programme from 83, and it was fascinating to me. And if anything, I've kind of went down a bit of a rabbit hole trying to find out where some of these bands are now. There's quite a lot of bands on here that, you know, some that I didn't hear of before, never heard of before, but also a lot that I did and they're no longer with us. So trying to find out where they're based, who was in charge of them, and how successful were they over the years. So, in this programme from 83, we could see that Field Marshal were in grade 2, so were St. Lawrence as well. And, some of the grade 1 big guns and stuff that you would expect to be in the upper grades are in the lower grades. So, yeah, absolutely fascinating. I could look back through old pipe band history forever and a day as one of my favourite hobbies, and I just wanted to share that with you. I know it's not news, but perhaps it's news for you and something that you could pick up as a possible hobby. There you are. Alrighty, old programmes and looking back and everything. We want to look ahead to the future, and unfortunately we had quite a bit of bad news with regards to the future for one of our Grade 1 bands, LOMA Clyde. Yeah, the band put out a bit of an announcement on the 20th of March, reading, it's with great sadness that the band announces that they will not be competing for this season. Yeah, we have a complement of dedicated pipers and drummers, but are short of comfortable numbers to be able to compete post-COVID-19. We all at LOMA Clyde wish to compete again if we are able to make it through these difficult times and look to consolidate and rebuild towards the season in 2023 and beyond. Thanks to all our band members, supporters and sponsors for their hard work up until now, and we hope that after a short break we'll be back stronger. Now, whenever I read this message from LOMA Clyde, it was absolutely heartbreaking, if I'm honest. LOMA Clyde have been in that Grade 1 arena now for a while, and they have been making it their own. If anything, their performance in 2019, they've played one of the most interesting medleys in that season. And if you have an opportunity, go back and listen to it. It's honestly one of my favourites. That it takes a few listens through before you kind of appreciate what they're doing there. It's really interesting musically. So, yeah, LOMA Clyde, terrible news. Whenever this dropped, I was so disappointed there for everyone there at LOMA Clyde. Absolutely heartbreaking. So, and this is even with RSPBA making these adjustments in the numbers and everything. Yeah, that's just so sad to see that LOMA Clyde won't be able to field a band. Now, Pipestroms.com took it a little further, and they started talking about the LOMA Clyde announcement and saying as well that there'll only be 7 competitive Grade 1 pipe bands based in Scotland now. Well, of course, I think we heard in recent weeks and months that Glasgow Sky will not be competing in Grade 1, and now we have LOMA Clyde that have closed the doors for this incoming season as well. Now, we've heard all sorts of incredible rumours about many, many other bands that are on the brink of collapse. But I have to stress that we are not here to report rumour. Because, yes, whenever this announcement came out, then the rumour machine just started again. And, kicked it into overdrive. Oh, well, LOMA Clyde's gone. Then there's all these other bands are going to fall too. Nah, that's not how it happens. It's sad news all round, and we shouldn't really be hoping or expecting other bands to fall by the wayside as a result. So to everyone in LOMA Clyde, I for one cannot wait to see you back on the grass again in 2023, and I dare say you will come back stronger than ever. And I cannot wait to see you back, folks. Don't be too long. And as for Glasgow Sky Association Pipe Band as well, they're another band that I cannot wait to see back on the grass again. And yes, it's sad to see that bands are falling by the wayside. But I did mention that this was a possibility. After coming through a global pandemic, this was expected. Even though reading the news on the pod this week, it's definitely not news that I want to read as well. So, full commiserations to everyone there at LOMA Clyde. I hope to see us back, folks, in 2023. All right, you've been told, so pass it on to all your members. If anyone there from LOMA Clyde are listening, you've been told Big Rab wants you back in 2023. All right. Okay, now moving on to another little news story then. We were contacted there recently by, I can't remember exactly who now, but we did receive an email telling us about a story of Lismore City Pipe Band down there in Queensland in Australia. Now, if you've been following the news and everything in Australia, would you be aware that there's been terrible flooding happening, especially in the Queensland area, flash floods as well, and have had a devastating effect on businesses and homes all in and around the Queensland area. And Lismore City Pipe Band, unfortunately, lost their band hall. The entire thing was flooded out. They lost all of their equipment. Their band hall was absolutely wrecked, and all of those old historical things and everything that the band had held on to for over the years are gone. So Pipe Bands Queensland are doing what they can now to try and raise funds for the band to try and help them rebuild. because the band has been there as part of the community for over 75 years. So such news as this is absolutely devastating. And so if you can help, then we have shared out the details and everything to a GoFundMe page that has been put up by Pipe Bands Queensland. So yeah, please do head over to the Big Rab Show social media. We've shared out the link and everything there where you can go and donate. Now, $1, $10, $100, it all helps. So if you can do, please help support Lismore City Pipe Band as they try and recover everything and rebuild following the terrible floods there in Queensland and Australia. So shout out to Lismore City Pipe Band. We hope that you manage to rebuild soon, and we hope to see you back on the grass again, playing out the tunes as well. Indeed, such terrible news. So yeah, with all of this news being on a bit of a downer, I think I kind of want to get a bit of a news story that'll cheer us all up. So what about this one? The Lewis and Harris Youth Pipe Band are holding a bit of a fundraiser. Yeah, they're holding a bake sale of all things. Yeah, homemade cakes, and you can buy 5 of them for $10. So why not pop in to the Lewis Pipe Band Hall, which is just opposite the Tesco's there. And that's going to be held on the 9th of April from 10:30 till 2:30 in the evening. Music, of course, will be presented to you by the Lewis and Harris Youth Pipe Band themselves. For more information on how you can attend the fundraiser and help raise some much needed funds for the band, just have a look at them on social media. Lewis and Harris Youth Pipe Band, and their upcoming fundraiser then on the 9th of April. And I do love a bit of cake every now and again, so yeah, I think I would love to go to this myself. So there you are. Great to see bands fundraising and stuff again, so yeah, why not head along to that and help raise some much needed cash for the band, indeed. Alrighty, I do have to mention that following the announcement from LOMA Clyde that they aren't able to field a band and everything, Pipestroms.com put out an opinion piece talking about if there were ever a time to cap numbers, it's now. And reading the opinion piece, which I assume was from the pen of Andrew Bertoff, it makes for some very interesting reading. Again, it revisits the old argument about whether, fielding 30 pipers is just as difficult as fielding 6. And is this now the opportunity to reduce band numbers to possibly help those in lower grades? Again, pointing the finger at some of the grade 1 big guns who are, they're being accused of hoovering up all of the talent, I suppose, and anyone that doesn't make it to the cut then just gets scattered to the wastelands, I suppose. And yes, the thought is, as if you cap the big guns, then that'll give the little bands in the other grades a better chance, I suppose. Now, this is a debate that we've been talking about on the Big Rab Show ad nauseum. We have spoke about it over and over and over again to no real conclusion. As to the debate on the number cap, I've kind of flip-flopped around. Sometimes I thought, yes, a number cap is a great idea, and it could possibly help, the other bands in grades below, some of the upper tier bands, So the number cap may have an effect there. But also, if you are talented enough and you earned your position to be able to play with one of these grade 1 big guns, your dream band, well then, would you not be kind of gutted if you got dropped because of a number cap rule? And your pipe major had to say to you, sorry mate, you can't play today because numbers. That's it. It's not because of your talent, your ability. It's because of what it says on a lump of paper here. So, yeah, I've always seen the positive and negative of a number cap. And this opinion piece by Pipestroms.com has certainly sparked a lot of debate among the piping world. One of which the Pipestroms.com don't seem to want to listen to, because whenever you see their post on social media, they dropped it on their Facebook page, and they closed the comment section. They didn't want anyone discussing it below, which was an interesting choice. So ourselves in the Big Rab Show, of course, we shared it on our social media, and that's where the conversation seemed to happen. A lot of people, again, some people saying, yes, introduce a number cap. Absolutely, it should be done. It should be done now. And other people saying then, no, why cap the number? If you earn your spot, then you deserve to be there. And other arguments about that as well. This could be in another entire podcast again, talking about the number cap. But I don't want to repeat over old ground. We've been there before. We've talked about the number cap idea, the positives and negatives, and all of that aside. So you can go back over previous Big Rab Show pods and listen to that if you want. If, however, we do get enough conversation about this on our social media or even on our email box, thebigrabshow@gmail.com, then we may well revisit this topic. Is it now possibly the time to bring this old chestnut back again for another debate and see whether, we think it's a good idea to introduce it or not? I don't know. But seeing, when Grade 1 big bands like LOMA Clyde that we were expecting to hit the grass and thump us all with some decent tunes, seeing that news was incredibly disappointing. And I don't know if this is kind of like, striking when the iron is hot, I suppose, and taking an opportunity when you can and reintroducing this old argument about a possible number cap. I can see positives and negatives here, and it's an interesting conversation to have, one of which we may well continue in the near future, but go and read that article on pipestroms.com, and again, you can draw your own conclusions. So, before I wrap up all the news and updates for this week, I have to give a shout to the Matt Boyd Memorial Pipe Band, who were involved in something really quite special just yesterday, in fact. So, yesterday in the town of Cookstown, it's seen a royal visit from Prince Charles and his wife Camilla. And they were having a visit to Cookstown, and, of course, in attendance were the Matt Boyd Memorial, or specifically 3 pipers from the Matt Boyd Memorial Pipe Band: Larry Ferguson, Alan Ferguson, and Emma Ferguson. 3 generations of one family, all involved in the Matt Boyd, and played an absolute storm. They were in news outlets all across the UK. They were interviewed as well on radio, TV. They were everywhere and completely unavoidable. It was fantastic to see so much great piping, if anything. And yes, Charles and Camilla both took their time to go and meet with all 3. And I have to say, well done to all 3. That would have been absolutely nerve-wracking, playing for royalty. But hey, they sounded fantastic as well. So well done to Larry, Alan and Emma. You guys done a fantastic job, and I'm sure that's a memory that you folks will take with you. Meeting royalty, everyone can't say that, I piped for royalty. So fantastic stuff. Shout out to the Matt Boyd Memorial Pipe Band. Yes, they've published photographs and stuff of the royal meetup and that, and rightfully proud of it too, indeed. And I know it's another shameless plug, but if you do want to see the Matt Boyd Memorial Pipe Band in concert, then they're playing at the Closkelt gig this weekend, indeed. Now, this brings me on to my last news story, and it's a bit of a reminder for folks out there. There are some dates fast approaching where you need to get your paperwork in order. Now, I'm talking about transfer papers. Now, like I said, this week's word of the week is change. And these deadlines for these changes are fast approaching. There was a quick reminder put out there by the Glasgow and West of Scotland branch, which you kind of need to pay attention to. If you are hoping to transfer from a higher grade to a lower grade, then these transfer papers need to be 42 days prior to the competition that you're hoping to compete at. So I have to tell you that. So just put that in the memory banks. Also, if any other transfer, so in the same grade or from lower to higher, then 14 days prior to any competition. So the 42-day transfer, if you're moving from higher to lower, that would kind of make it in the near future, I suppose. The first competition that we're heading to is in Gurrock, of course, on the 8th of May, and that would make your 42-day deadline being the 25th of March, which is Friday when you're listening to this podcast. Hopefully, the 25th of March is your 42-day deadline for the first competition in May. You've been warned. And also, your 14-day deadline then for the first competition would be the 22nd of April. So if you are going to be considering handing in your transfer forms and stuff, depending on which grade you're moving from, will depend on when you have to have your paperwork in place. So keep that all in mind. Also, for Northern Ireland competitions, the first Northern Ireland competition is on the 14th of May in Bangor. So the 42-day rule, again, means that your paperwork has to be with headquarters by the 1st of April. And that's by my calculations. That could be totally wrong. And also, the 14-day deadline then would make it the 29th of April. So, 1st of April, if you're moving from higher to lower, and the 29th then, if you're moving from any other grade. Indeed. So that's complicated. And if you are curious at all about your paperwork and your transfer forms and whatnot, please get them in order. They're so vitally important. And make sure that you're adhering to all the appropriate deadlines. But just to let you know that there's one coming up this weekend, 25th of March. If you're moving from higher to lower and you're hoping to compete in Gurrock on the 8th of May, then you don't have long to get your paperwork in. That's all I'm going to say on that front. So there you go. Alrighty. I've probably calculated some dates wrong, the deadline's wrong, all that stuff. It could be stuff that Rob got wrong. More than likely. But hey, it wouldn't be like me. If there's anything that we've talked about in this week's podcast or any others, of course, please do email us in. BigRabShow@gmail.com is where you do it. Or you can do it, of course, on our weekly drone feature, TheBigRabShow.com/weekly drone. That's where you can go and let us have it and let us know about all the stuff that I got wrong this week. Indeed. Alrighty, well, that's it for the news this week. I reckon it's time for me to go and get myself a big cup of tea. It's time for the topic of the week.